Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well and the beginning of your school year is going as smoothly and as well as possible. Back in my opening day address, I mentioned to you that it was an expectation of mine this year that everyone try to implement blended learning in some aspects of their classrooms. So today, I'm going to take a few moments to go over with you what blended learning is and what it might look like for you. Honestly, the definition of blended learning changes depending on who's defining it. There's lots of variations, none of which are necessarily better than the other, just different, and that's okay. I used a lot of the ideas and research that I'm going to share with you today from Casey Bell's book, Blended Learning with Google. I enjoyed it, and if you have free time, I know as an educator, free time is often a joke, but if you do, it's definitely worth a read. It has great resources and great examples and great ideas all throughout the book. The definition that Casey uses is that blended learning is an approach to teaching that combines face-to-face and online learning experiences. It's a mix of traditional classroom and a virtual one. She calls it dynamic learning. So I did a little bit of research on my own, and I wanted to give you some statistics on blended learning. And these are from EdTech Review, and I thought they were interesting. So 82% of students prefer blended learning to teaching in classic environments. So a lot of what you're doing now, integrating the Chromebooks, is a preference for most of your students, according to the research. 60% of teachers notice blended learning improves academic ability, and there could be lots of reasons for this. Kids have the ability to learn their initial lesson online through a video maybe that you created or that you found, and they have access to that same information the same way it was presented over and over and over again. 73% of teachers say blended learning increases engagement. And that's partially because you're giving the information through the computer and then being able to do all sorts of activities in the classroom. And 59% of students are more motivated when using blended learning tools. This all is probably backup evidence to what you're seeing in your classrooms when you incorporate technology. Do you see additional motivation when you bring in additional tools, maybe like Flipgrid or Scholastic or Nearpod or BrainPod? All of those things get the kids excited and support these statistics. So before we talk about blended learning connected to dynamic learning, what is dynamic learning? Dynamic learning has components that you probably are already incorporating into your classroom. This is nothing new. We know in education that we like to reterm things that we're already doing over and over again. So dynamic learning is learner-centered, learning-centered. It's focused on learning targets, and it goes beyond the traditional limitations. So think of the use of technology or using blended learning as your traditional limits. You're going beyond that. Additionally, incorporates the 4 C's, creativity. So the use of imagination and original ideas to solve problems. So for example, using creativity and innovation with projects that require students to design original solutions, invent something new to solve a problem, or integrate art and design, and giving them room to fail. So that's her first C is creativity. The second one is communication. The ability to effectively communicate for a variety of audiences and using a variety of tools and mediums. Give students the opportunity to interact with adult experts, authors, real world audiences, maybe a class from a different school. Let them interact with people that they wouldn't have necessarily access to in a traditional classroom. Those are you all know people in your fields that would love to speak to your classes. Flip it. Let them come in, let them tape a video, let them interact with your class, and allow them to have this type of communication. Collaboration, learning and working in groups or teams to achieve a goal. In other words, this is a purpose, there's a purpose to the group work. It's not just a collaboration for collaboration's sake. And the last one is critical thinking. And this is the ability to conceptualize, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate information for the purpose of deeper understanding, for problem solving, and guiding action. So you can create meaningful learning experiences for your students, such as mock trials or debates or scientific investigations. You can have them interpret events in history or in literature, or have them do design challenges. And it goes beyond that. So how are dynamic learning and blended learning connected? Well, it's a combination of techniques. It goes beyond the bell. You could take your class, your lectures, your activities past the school day. You could flip your instruction so that your students are hearing it at night for homework. And you can be creative in how you do this. There's also no need to reinvent the wheel. There's tons of resources out there, anywhere from Khan Academy to Crash Course to videos that other teachers have made. So you don't really have to necessarily recreate the wheel to go beyond the bell. While face-to-face interactions are important, we have the opportunity to have online discussions and meetings. That quiet kid that's in your class might surprise you in an online environment. We saw this a lot last year. Some students who struggled with being in the building and having those traditional classroom setups excelled virtually. This is a way to give them a little bit of that as well. You could have students work together on a Google document where you're the owner so that there's accountability. There's other tools such as Padlet, back channel chat that are also designed for educational purposes. The second combination is beyond grade level and subject. So dynamic learning doesn't fit in a box. Neither do kids, we know this. So if we're going to go beyond the constraints of a traditional subject area and grade level expectations, we need to give the kids opportunities to learn about things that interest them. I know providing broad choice and student-led learning can sound overwhelming and maybe even chaotic. But students need opportunities to be able to explore their unique ideas and interests that go far beyond the walls of our classroom. It doesn't mean you have to teach more concepts or reach more concepts, but it does require finding ways to give students the opportunities to make decisions and choose topics and projects for which they're curious. You could give them choices of digital tools. You could give them a subject choice where they have to get your approval to move on their project. A choice of a reading, maybe books. We know how important that is. A choice of how they do the project, or a choice of device. There's plenty of students, and this is probably more for middle school and high school, that can use the tools such as Flipgrid on their cell phone. And I only say that because elementary schools don't typically have the cell phones, but Flipgrid is also something that could be used on the Chromebooks. Number 3, beyond the walls. Using technology allows us to have our students access the world outside of our classroom walls. So no matter where their classroom is located, there's an opportunity to make an outside connection. You could do this with Google Meet, so that, again, you're connecting with people that are in your field, or authors, or other classes, students from other schools. You could also do virtual field trips. Number 4, beyond the tools, technology will allow students to access information instead of having you disseminate it to them. It provides the opportunity for instant feedback to students as they're completing their assignments. So for example, if they're on a Google Doc and you are also on there, you can put in comments right away. You could give them feedback. A tip, Control-Alt-M inserts comments in docs sheets or slides or drawings. It works for all of them. You can also provide instant collaboration with tools such as Google and Nearpod and Peer Deck and lots of others. And beyond the due date. Now, this isn't about giving extra time to complete topics or projects or assignments, but it's allowing students to continue the work that interests them. So thinking, learning, and exploring really shouldn't be stifled because it was time to turn in a project. So it's more like enrichment. You rarely design a project or an assignment to meet this characteristic because in our lives there's due dates, but you can have students do a portfolio, or they can do student showcases at the end of the year that are focused on skills but are rooted in student choice and things that interest your classes. You could also have them put together a Google site. All of this they have access to through their Chromebooks. So what does this look like in a classroom? Well, that's a great question. It's different everywhere, but the basics are the same. So you have to create the conditions for success. You have to think it through. Don't run haphazardly into it. Why are you doing this? How does it suit your end goal and your learning objectives? Think about it. Really sit down and say, is this the lesson that I want to flip? I'm not saying every lesson should be flipped or every lesson should be blended, but there's great opportunities to do that. The second thing, plan. Using your end goal, work backward. Write out clear, concise directions, go over expectations with your students. This is called understanding by design, is planning backwards. When you go over your expectations with your students and they know what your end goal is, it's easy to get them there. So practice with them so they're not surprised. They know exactly what to expect. And then implement it. You can do it. Do it for real. Put your plan to the test. And don't be afraid to fail. Reflect and improve. What went well? What didn't? Did it bomb? That's okay. Tomorrow's another day. How can we improve when we do it again? Don't just, if you have a hard time or if your students have a hard time, learn from those lessons. Don't just shelve the concept because the opportunities here are really good. All right. So, flipped learning. Flipped learning, according to Bloom's taxonomy, basically it shows that the lower tiers of Bloom's can be handled as pre-classroom content. This can be done as a video for your students. In the elementary level, perhaps you can read a story to your students, have them bring in some on a video, and then have them bring something in that connects to the story for an activity the next day. In middle and high school, you can have the students watch a video either you created with content or a video from a reliable and approved source, perhaps using a tool such as Edpuzzle, and have the students prepared for an activity when they walk into the classroom the next day. To take it even further, you can have students in the same class assigned to different videos, differentiation at its best, in preparation for class. So when they come in, they could do a 3-stay, 1-go, or genius groups, or peer teachers, or even have an in-class debate. Your prep time for the activity has now been outsourced to homework. There are many tools that you can take advantage of to flip your classroom or to blend it. These are just a few. Flipgrid is a great video making tool for students. It's super easy and you can get the app on your phone and grade it right on your phone. Padlet is a good source. It's also very similar to Google Slides, but allows you to really manipulate what information your students are getting and create what looks like an online bulletin board. All of our Google tools, PBS Kids, BrainPop, Nearpod is available at the high school and is available for free for a certain amount of students per class at lower levels. Screencast tool, I like to use Screencast-O-Matic, it's my favorite, but Screencastify and Loom are also great choices. Edpuzzle, which allows you to put up a video and insert questions all throughout the video. It also stops students from being able to fast forward, and it grades their questions right there for you. Back channel chat is a great source when you're showing either a video in class and want to be able to have the opportunity to speak to the students or have them ask questions without continually stopping the video. BrainPop you're all familiar with. And then you have things like Khan Academy, TED Ed, BioInteractive, hippocampus.org, Crash Course, and Nova, which have so many outstanding videos that you could draw from for your flip. Over the course of the year, your instructional technology coordinators will continue to provide examples and support to help you implement blended learning into your classrooms. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. Thank you for your attention through this kind of short video. I hope this may have given you some ideas. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.